So after defeating those guys, we're ready to head up the elevator. I actually had to completely re-edit this this particular video because for whatever reason, the original one that I had edited together, ready for commentary, was it would not let me go back to it, so it was like corrupted or something. And so I tried to re-edit this one, and we're heading up to the boss fight against Omega Supreme. And I had to edit out a good 8 minutes of it because it was about 25 minutes long, and I wanted to speed it up to ×2 so it would go by a lot faster, which is what I originally done to the file that apparently made it corrupt or whatever, and it wouldn't let me do it. So it would crash the editing software every time I tried to do it. So I had to cut out about 8 minutes of this so it would be a good, so to be the right file size to be uploaded, which is a bit aggravating because this is a really long fight and I would have liked to have had all of it on there, but unfortunately I can't. So if you don't like it, then I'm sure there's plenty of other videos on the fight with Omega Supreme, but we'll be getting to that here in a minute. First of all, we have to clear out all the other Autobots up here on the platform. We're going to have some Seekers backing us up over there. And there's a lot of really tough guys up here, so don't be in too much of a hurry to go ahead and get the boss fight started. Take your time with this, because there's going to be repair sentries up there, and there's going to be guys with overshields, and there's going to be a destroyer in the center of it all, so it's a pretty big encounter. So take your time with it. I mean, there's a pretty open area as well. There's not a whole lot of cover, so just kind of stay down here until you can give yourself an opening to get up there where that turret is. There's also a brute up there where that turret is. I also picked up some healing grenades down there as well. I might show those off here in a minute. Still sticking with my two weapons that I have right now. They'll be useful in taking out the enemies here, but they will do absolutely nothing to Omega Supreme himself as far as I know. He has a ridiculous amount of health anyway, so damage is not always noticeable. This guy right here might be a little too tough for my sniper rifle, so I might have to use my vehicle rockets. And he took quite a bit of health off of me too. Try not to get too out in the open or get blown away by that destroyer. I suppose if you're really worried about this guy, you could go back down and get the Magma Frag Launcher. But I'm not. There we go. Now we're going to pick up his turret. We're going to use it against the destroyer over there, assuming he has his back turned to us. Even if he doesn't, I think this is powerful enough to break off his chest plate, even without his back plate already being gone. Yeah, turrets seem to be the best way of destroying those guys. I guess there was a guy in this turret, but I think Breakdown killed him. Okay, well that last brute died, which means Omega Supreme is now going to attack us finally, and we'll finally hold our ground and try to take him down, as opposed to running around like a coward. And like I said, this fight is going to be very long, because, well, it's long if you do it the way I do. You can probably shorten it down quite a bit if you, because basically you can only damage him with these turrets, and there's a turret right up here on the center platform, and there's two turrets on the either side of these pillars over here, as you can see, and there's also the three turrets, I believe it's three, it might only be two, that are up on the area behind me. And basically what you have to do is you just have to keep hitting him over and over again with these turrets, And he has several different attacks. He has some homing missiles. He also has a force field that he can deploy. And he has this giant beam attack right here, which is probably the most dangerous attack, and the reason why I don't stay at the front of the line there. And if you're playing this on hard like I am, then you really will not last very long in that. So you really can't use the turrets on the front up there for very long. You kind of just have to go up there and rip them off, and then go over here and try to do some damage to him. And the reason that this fight is so long is because it's really hard to actually hit him with the I'll use my healing grenades here. So if I didn't demonstrate them before, then that's what they do. But the reason that this fight is so long is because you can't really do any damage to him with your other weapons. And the ion displacer turrets are the only ones that do any real damage. And you can only get them in the center of the battlefield where you're most vulnerable. The nuclear shock cannons up here do not do... they do a lot of damage, but it's very difficult to actually hit him from this range with them, especially if you have them ripped off the mounting, because then you won't have unlimited ammo for them. I'm gonna try to use him, and I might get a few good hits in, but really it's very hard to hit him because despite his size, he actually moves around quite a bit. So you can get a few good shots. He doesn't really have any weak spot per se right now. You just kind of hit him wherever it says you're targeting him, like wherever your reticle turns red. Just hit him. Doesn't really matter. But the fact that he has the force field also makes it a lot longer, because even if you have these turrets, you may not be able to hit him. I think the only place you can hit him is on the side of his arms there. So there's just a lot of time spent in this fight where you can't do damage to him, because later on, after you've taken out the first quarter of his health, he will change tactics a little bit and start spawning in some aerial bots, and he will leave the battlefield while the aerial bots are fighting you, and he'll come back when almost all of them are dead. He'll start repeating his attack pattern. So the other thing that's really annoying is when if you take too long to kill the aerial bots, then he'll be so far along in his attack pattern that he'll just go ahead and spawn more, and you missed your opportunity to do damage to him while he was here. So, like I said, it's a very complicated fight. I honestly don't think this fight was very well designed. I think I knew that from the very first time I fought him, that like, okay, this is taking way too long, and it's not really even that hard. It's because if you stay back here in that back row, it's really kind of hard to be hit, because the only attack that he can really hit you with at that range is his homing missiles, and there's plenty of cover back there, so it's really not that hard of a fight. I got really unlucky here with both Megatron and Breakdown being on the turrets that I wanted to use. So I had to come over here to this one, quickly rip it off before he started beaming me to death. There you go. You'll see bits of his armor break off whenever you've lowered his health past a certain point, like whenever you've entered the next stage of the fight. I think it's after you've lowered his health down by a quarter, you'll see little bits of armor break off, and you'll have sound waves say, we've damaged his defenses or whatever. The turrets are breaking his armor. But then he'll spawn in the aerial bots, and the aerial bots are very easy to take out with these turrets, but sometimes you might be a little apprehensive to use them because you want to save your ammo on these machine gun turrets, the ion displacers for Omega Supreme himself, which is not a bad idea because they are kind of hard to get to, especially if you're playing it safe like I am. I mean, you can try to hit the aerial bots with the nuclear shock cannon, but that's also very difficult because they're a very small target. I went ahead and edited out that 8 minutes right here, so now we're down to his last quarter of health, because it basically just repeats that over and over again. It doesn't get any harder. It's just you have to take out the aerial bots really, really fast. So that's why I have the null rays still, and I've been collecting as much ammo for it as I can find to take out these aerial bots as soon as possible, because whenever they spawn in, you want to hurry up and kill them as soon as possible, because when Omega Supreme comes back, you want to see, like right here, this is the time where it took me too long to kill them because I was out of ammo, and he just went ahead and spawned more as soon as I got done, so I didn't get a chance to do any damage to him that round. And that's really a big waste of time if you spent all that time fighting the other enemies and he was there the whole time. You didn't get to do any damage to him. But I still think that this is really the best method of fighting him, is just run around with the ion displacer turrets and kill the aerial bots as soon as possible, preferably with a weapon that can one-shot them like the null ray or if you had a thermal rocket launcher. So I say, when the aerial bots do show up, drop your turret and take out the null ray and just snipe all of them as quickly as possible, so you can pick up the turret again and then get ready to hit Omega Supreme when he comes back. It's just really annoying when the aerial bots go and heal like that. Or not when they heal. Sorry, I threw a healing grenade and that distracted me. When they go and transform into their robot mode. That's what I meant to say, because they can't one-shot them with the sniper rifle anymore unless you get a headshot. And that's very hard to do because they're buzzing around all over the place and they have rather small heads. So I just went ahead and ignored the aerial bots because Omega Supreme was back and I had this turret ready. I want to go ahead and do some damage. You can kind of hide from his homing missiles down here because they'll just hit this piece of the wall in front of you. Again, it's also kind of hard to hit him with these nuclear shock cannon because it's a slow-moving projectile and he's a large airborne target that has fairly decent mobility for how large he is. There's probably better strategies for beating him that I just never came across in the multiple times I played the game. I just sort of fought him the same way every time, and maybe I was doing it wrong. If you guys can think of a better strategy that can beat him faster, then let me know. I know that playing it on co-op, he went down pretty quickly. I played this mission on co-op on Soundwave before I ran out of Xbox Live, and he went down pretty quickly, but we might have also not have been playing on hard. I typically don't like to stay on the turret while keep leaving it mounted there, because you can intercept these homing missiles out of the sky, but that's really all you can prevent from hitting you. Everything else, you can't stop it from hitting you when you're standing still like that. And plus, you can't really do damage to him if you're concentrating on shooting down those homing missiles. It's also kind of annoying how long the duration of his beam attack here lasts, because he sort of blocks off a large section of the map from you being able to hit it. Alright, well, he's almost dead now, so we're making good progress here. Gotta deal with one more wave of aerial bots probably before we can take him down. Healing grenades are pretty nice to have because really none of the other grenade types are going to be that useful, because we can't hit Omega Supreme with any of them, even if they did do any damage. And the only other Autobots we're going to be fighting are these aerial bots, and we can't exactly hit them with grenades either. Alright, well, looks like he's back. You would think if you've been fighting 3 guys for 25 minutes straight, and they haven't died yet, you would think you could use a different tactic. I mean, he's clearly very powerful. But whatever, I'm not going to argue with the design of this boss battle. He's almost dead. Fortunately, like I said, he called up those aerial bots pretty quickly on me, so I kind of need to take him down next time he shows up, regardless of worrying about those aerial bots. Alright, looks like he's back. Let's try to finish him off now. But yeah, sorry this took so long. I promise the final boss of the Autobot campaign will not take this long. If you're okay with this battle taking as long as it does, and if you're patient, and you don't mind the fact that you have to pretty much go around in circles and repeat the same process over and over again, then it's not a bad fight. It's not a hard fight, at least. If you're okay with being patient, it's not a hard fight. I just desperately need some ammo, and there it is. Yeah, if you think I'm being cheap by editing out 8 minutes of this fight, I'm really not. 'Cause I'm really just neglecting the fact that my strategy is still taking forever to kill him. Because, really, I was basically doing this exact same thing for the last 8 minutes, so I mean, it's really not that big of a deal that it's not in here. I think we almost got him, though. This is part of the fight where you definitely don't need to be impatient, because you could be all like, "Oh yeah, I almost got him, he's gonna die," and then he kills you because you got reckless. But I mean, I guess that's true with any boss battle. Sometimes that can be beneficial though if you want to hurry up and kill him in a hurry. But that's not the case with this boss. Yeah, I believe, as I said earlier in the game, I don't really think the boss battles in this game are designed all that well, but at least the game has them. I'm glad that it has boss battles. Alright, looks like he's back yet again, and maybe this time we can finally finish him. There he goes, down he goes. Hopefully he's dead for good this time.